Hello, my name is Bruce Miller, and I'm with RIMtech Consulting. I'm here to talk briefly about our online virtual training course, EDRMS Deployment for Microsoft SharePoint. This is a one-day course, and it is vendor neutral, which means that it doesn't matter what software you decide to use for your EDRMS. There are 5 products shown in the diagram on the slide here. 5 products that you can use to manage records in SharePoint, and it doesn't matter which of the 5 you use. It doesn't matter at all, okay? Either way, you're going to have to learn how to deploy that software appropriately, right? So it turns out that the it doesn't really matter which of the products you buy. It turns out there are 6 steps you have to follow no matter what software it is. Some of the steps are slightly different, but 99% they're the same no matter what you buy, okay? So we'll talk about those 6 steps in this course. First, however, know that this is a foundation course, which means that the morning or the first half, roughly, is dealing with the fundamentals of EDRMS because there's no point getting into the deployment details until you know what you're doing and why. So in the morning, we cover the concepts, methods, and techniques of modern EDRMS. We go over the SharePoint information architecture, which says, well, what are we going to do in SharePoint? Where are we going to store our stuff? What libraries do we need? How many of them? What are we going to call them? What metadata will we need? And how much metadata? That's all SharePoint IA. We'll dig into the numbers and show you how to prove that your project is working as it's supposed to, that it's being successful. We'll talk about the hugely important topic of case records. No one can deploy an EDRMS successfully until you manage your case records properly with the software. Case records are over 50% of all your records, and they're the records with event-driven retention rules. And it's much trickier to handle case records. So we'll teach you how to get it right. We'll also talk about the 2 lethal threats to an EDRMS project. Each threat is a mistake, and if you make it, you will destroy your project. It will not work, and it may even eventually take you down with it. So we'll talk about what they are, how to avoid those mistakes so you don't have to deal with them, okay? We'll talk about the importance of email because email is 4/5 of all your records. So it's critical that any modern EDRMS manages your email. We'll talk about how to collect and manage them. We'll talk about the roles, the key roles of all the players in the project, and we'll talk about how it's going to be automated. Any modern EDRMS can only succeed if it's fully automated, meaning that the users, end users, are not going to participate in any way in any record-keeping processes, okay? So that's hugely important. So the afternoon, we talk about the deployment technique. It's a 6-step methodology, 6-step approach. And the order is hugely important. The order cannot change. The technology forces the order. You have no choice on the order. So the order is roughly this. First, you have to restructure your retention schedule. We'll talk about why and how to do that. Then we'll generate a retention schedule that the software can ingest because you have to load that software in step 3 into the software. If that means the retention schedule will have to be machine readable and machine actionable. Every single retention rule must be acted on by a machine. Users will never see, interact with, or care about the retention schedule in a modern EDRMS. Step number 4 is now you have the retention schedule into your record software, but you've done nothing with SharePoint, nothing. Well, in SharePoint now, the retention schedule will drive the information architecture, which means that you're going to need to define what libraries you'll need. What are they called? How many do you need? What are the content types? And particularly the metadata. So in step 4, you define it, you design it, you say, this is what we're going to need. In step 5, we're going to get it into SharePoint. So number 4 is defining it in a spreadsheet, and number 5 is building it in SharePoint, very separate steps. Number 5 is huge. I've seen it take years. Number 6 is once you've got the retention schedule into the record software of your choice, whatever it is, from one of those 5 products shown on the screen, and you have your information architecture set up. Only now can you put in your automated retention rules. Only then. Everything else has to be finished before you can do that. That's the final step. Now, if you look at these 6 steps as a whole, in an organization of, let's say, 1,000 people or more, this can take you 2 or 3 years and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And usually you will be doing it for the first time and learning the hard way how to do it. That usually involves lots of mistakes. With this course, we're going to show you a well-defined methodology that's been used for years. It works. It's guaranteed to work. It can be proven that it's guaranteed to work. And it will take a lot less than many years and many hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're even going to show you in the afternoon, we're going to show you how to prevent SharePoint creep, and we're going to walk through the 6-step methodology in detail so you can do it on your own. And we're going to introduce the Catalyst information governance tools. Those tools are used in step 5 and only in step 5, partially in step 6, but largely in step 5. Step 5 in isolation can take a year or more, and the Catalyst tools will make step 5 take about a day or 2. Okay, very much faster. And we'll show the challenges of deployment incrementally. In other words, when you deploy an EDRMS, you have 2 choices, big bang or incremental. Big bang means you'll do the whole organization in one go. That's fine for small organizations of a few hundred people. Anything larger than that, there's no way you're going to do that. You're going to do it department by department by department, which means you're going to layer a portion of the deployment on top of a previous portion. That's complicated. That's tricky. We call it incremental deployment. So we'll talk about that. Okay, as well as a permission model, because you got to get that in there somewhere, right? So that's basically it. That's what we're going to cover. And because it's a foundation course, you only get half a day's worth of the deployment instead of a full day, because you won't understand the afternoon unless you get through the morning. We have a separate course, full day, just on the deployment itself, but that's a separate course. And in order to take that course, you're going to need this one or someone like it. You had to cover the fundamentals in some course previously. Okay. Anyway, in the description below, you will find 3 links. One to a document with the details of this course, 2 to our schedule of all our courses, and a 3rd link to register for this course. Okay, if you only have 1 day and that's all you have, then this is your course for the deployment. Thank you very much.